silence before me in the square. They called it holy, I called it despair. I watched the smoke and memorized each face, and learned that light survives in darker places. 300 years of hiding what I am, of healing hands that no one understands. They took my sisters, took my name, my home, and left me with the light and left me alone. They said my kind was poison to the world. They said the light I carry should be held into the void, into the dark, into the grave. But light doesn't die just because they misbehave. I am the last light she ever burned, the final flame that darkness never earned. Every witch they silence feeds the fire in me. I carry all their names, so none of them are free. Call me heretic, call me sin, call me the dark. I've been called worse by smaller men with smaller hearts. I am the last light standing at the end of days, and I will burn this world to white before the white decays. The darkness has a name I will not speak aloud. It fed on every silence underneath the shroud. It grew on every candle that they made us snuff. It learned that holy fire breaks when pushed enough. But I was never holy in the way they meant. I was the kind of holy born from what was spent, from grief and exile and the weight of being wrong in every book they wrote, and yet surviving alone. They wanted me to beg for my own right to breathe. They wanted me to bury everything I believe. Instead I took the darkness that they poured on me and turned it into something they will never see. I am the last light burning in the hollow dark. 300 years of silence couldn't kill the spark. Every name they erased from the record and the stone lies inside the fire that I carry alone. Call me outcast, call me cursed, call me the flame. Every wall they built to stop me only fed my aim. I am the last light standing where the shadows feed, and I will give my everything to plant the final seed. They asked me once why I kept healing people who would turn around and burn me. I told them, because the light doesn't choose who deserves to see. It just shines. That's what light does. That's all it has ever done. And when I am gone, it will find someone else. It always does. followed daylight 3 days back. The ravens circled once and don't come back. I tracked the beast through 16 miles of bone, through forests that had learned to moan alone. They told me turn around, they told me pray, they told me what the darkness takes it keeps. I told them keep your prayers for someone sane. I'm going in regardless of what sleeps. She was taken in the dead of moonless night. I heard her voice and then I heard it die. Every step I take toward those towers black is a step I swear I'm not taking back. Into the lair of the fallen king I descend, through the rocks and the ruin and the dark without end. Every torch on these walls is a soul that was spent on the altar of something that was never content. I don't come with an army, I don't come with a prayer. I come with a blade and a race beyond repair. Into the lair of the fallen king I will go, and I'll bring her back breathing, or I'll die below. The corridors were lined with cages cold and black, with faces that had given up on finding their way back. I cut the locks and told them run and don't look back at me. Some horrors offer soldiers, some are not meant to be seen. The beast was waiting where the throne had rotted through, a thing of darkness wearing something close to true. It wore a crown of stolen screams and called itself a king. I called it what it was, a coward hiding in. I heard a voice behind the iron door ahead, not screaming, just the silence of a prayer not said. That silence hit me harder than the creature's roar. I raised my blade and kicked down every door. Into the lair of the fallen king I push through. Every shadow on these walls knows what I'm going to do. Every demon in this darkness knows my name by now. I carved it into every wall on the way down. I don't need the light to fight, I learned to see in black. I don't need the road ahead, just the one going back. Into the lair of the fallen king, hear me roar. I am every nightmare's nightmare, knocking at your door. The creature asked me, what makes you think you can take what I have claimed? I looked at the door behind it. I looked at my sword. I looked back at the creature. I said, she does. fire below my feet. I watched the smoke rise upward, and I counted every beat of my own heart that wouldn't stop despite what they had done. The cruelest thing about that night was waking with the sun. I wandered through the centuries like water without shore, healing those who turn on me, then healing them once more. Not because I thought they'd change, I knew they never would. I did it because something in me never stopped being good. I told myself I needed no one, told myself I was through with hoping that the world might hold a place for someone like me too. But hope is the most stubborn thing, it lives without your leave. And somewhere in my 300 years, I never stopped to grieve. Before the storm found us, I was already the rain. 300 years of falling, and I'd learned to love the pain. Before the sword found fire, I was burning on my own. Two people made of different grief who'd never not been alone. I didn't know your name yet, didn't know your face, didn't know that someone somewhere was keeping the same pace. Before the storm found us, we were always on the way to the only kind of morning neither one of us could say. I took the sword when I was young because I had no words for everything I carried and the weight that went unheard. They gave me a mission and a blade and called it purpose. But purpose is just loneliness with somewhere it can surface. I buried friends in fields without a marker or a name. I fought for lords who fell like leaves and left me with the blame. And every time I walked away from somewhere I had bled, I told myself I fought for them, but really for the dead. I told myself I needed nothing, told myself I was fine, that soldiers don't need softness and that armor suits me fine. But armor is just distance, and the distance grew so wide that I forgot what it was like to let someone inside. Before the storm found us, I was already the wind, running through the empty fields of everything I'd sinned. Before the flame found steel, I was cold without a cause. Two people living parallel lives without each other's laws. I didn't know your name yet, didn't know your fire, didn't know that someone somewhere shared the same desire. Before the storm found us, we were always incomplete, two halves of something whole that hadn't learned yet how to meet. I used to look at the stars and count the ones that had gone out. There were always more dark spots than lights. I thought that was the truth of things. I used to look at the stars and not really see them. Too tired, too far from anything that felt like home. And then legends always do, steer between them and a point to prove she was from ash and he had not yet sheathed the sword he'd used to cut her people free. She called him servant of a broken throne, he called her nightmare, better left alone. The princess stood between them in the rain and said the real enemy has yet to be slain. Two warriors who had every reason not to trust, two roads that history had covered up in rust, but the dark was moving faster than their pride could run, and some wars cannot be won by only one. The blade and the burning vow were never meant to meet, but destiny has little care for clean and neat. A soldier and a sorceress who swore to different skies, now standing back to back beneath the same sunrise. Run through the fire, fight through the storm, two broken halves of something that was always one before. The blade and the burning vow have finally found their war, and the enemy ahead of them has never faced this before. He learned that she had healed the ones he thought were lost. She learned that he had bled for every life it cost. The hatred softened somewhere in the second mile into something neither one had felt in quite a while. She covered his blind side with fire from the left. He guarded what her magic left her without breath. The enemy had counted on their ancient war, but no one told it what an unlikely pair was for. Not allies born of friendship, born of something harder, the kind of trust you build when the road gets darker. Not love, not yet, just the certainty of this, that back to back is better than the dark abyss. The blade and the burning vow rewrote the ancient score. Two enemies who found a common enemy in war. A princess in the middle who had always known the truth, that light and dark together make a more unbreakable proof. Charge through the darkness, burn through the walls, two stories that were separate now combined into one call. The blade and the burning vow have finally spoken clear, and everything the darkness built is trembling now with fear. The histories would argue later over what to call them. Some said enemies, some said allies, some said something that had no name yet. The princess knew she had watched them fight each other and then fight together, and she saw what neither of them saw, that the blade had always needed the fire, and the fire had always needed the blade. They were never two stories, they were always one. every time she walked them. They left her meals outside the door like something to be feared, and she pretended not to notice. She'd had practice for 300 years. He noticed, even though he told himself he didn't. He watched the way she straightened when the whispers hit it, the way she held her chin up just a little higher, the way the proud don't ever let you see them tire. Two people in the same stone walls, still miles apart in everything that calls him to duty, her to distance, both too stubborn for the difference. The wall we built between us wasn't made of stone, it was made of every reason we'd grown used to being alone. Too proud to show the cracks, too tired to explain. Two people standing inches apart in completely different rain. I see you in the hallway, you look anywhere but here. I pass you in the courtyard, you pretend I disappear. The wall we built between us has a door we haven't tried, and both of us are standing on the outside. She was sitting on the battlements when he came up the stair. He almost turned around again, but something left him there. The city stretched below them like a world that didn't know that two exhausted people were too stubborn to let go. He sat beside her, not too close, not close enough, and both of them stared outward at the dark without a word, until she said the thing she hadn't meant to say out loud. I've been alone so long I've forgotten what it's like to be allowed. He didn't answer right away, he couldn't find the words. He'd spent so long in armor that the softness felt absurd, but something in the way she said it, quiet and matter of facts, made him realize he'd been thinking the same thing looking back. The wall we built between us started cracking in the cold. Two people who had lived so long with stories left untold. Too scared to be the first one, too tired to pretend that the silence between soldiers doesn't sometimes need to end. I see you on the battlements, you're looking at the stars. I sit beside you carefully, we're both still full of scars. The wall we built between us, I can feel it start to shift, and neither one of us is ready for what happens if it lifts. You said you've been alone a long time, so have I. Different kind of alone, maybe, but alone. You had people around you. Armor counts as alone. Yes, I suppose it does. Two sides to them, and standing on the outside means the other one is in. I see you in the morning light, you almost smiled at me. I passed you in the corridor, you didn't turn to flee. The wall we built between us, it's still standing, yes, it's true, but there's a crack that wasn't there before. Then the morning lords, and in the witch's chamber came a voice she'd heard before, the kind that offers safety through a quietly closing door. 300 years ago the same voice wore a different face. Just give us what we want and we will give you a safe place. She'd burn for saying no back then, she'd burn for it again, but this time something different lived inside the old refrain. This time there was a reason she had never had before. This time the thing they asked her to betray meant something more. This time the name they wanted her to hand across the line wasn't just a stranger. This time it was mine. The ghost of what they made us haunts the halls we walk today. 300 years of running, but the past won't stay away. I could have taken safety, I could have let you fall, but safety without you in it isn't safety at all. I sent them back with nothing but the ashes of their deal. Some things you burn for gladly, some betrayals you can't feel. The ghost of what they made us tried to pull me to the door, but I have something worth the fire now I never had before. She told him in the corridor before the morning came, she didn't dress it up or try to soften up the blame. They came to me, they offered me a way to stay alive. All I had to do was make sure neither you nor she survived. He didn't reach for his sword, he didn't step away. He stood there in the half-light of the gray uncertain day and looked at her the way that no one ever had before, not checking for the danger, checking if she was sore. He told me was the only thing he said for quite a while. She waited for the accusation, waited for the trial. Instead he turned toward the window and he quietly replied, then we go north together and we end this side by side. The ghost of what they made us just became the fuel we need. 300 years of running finally turned into speed. You stood beside me when you had every reason not to stay, and something in that moment burned the last of my afraid. Run toward the darkness, run toward the north, side by side with someone finally worth the cost. The ghost of what they made us is the reason we ignite. We are not what they created, we are what survived the night. I have been afraid for 300 years. Afraid of fire, afraid of humans, afraid of hoping. And then he said, side by side, like it was the easiest thing, like I was someone worth standing beside. I decided then I was done being afraid. was quiet when the morning finally came. The kind of quiet that arrives when nothing is the same. Two people standing in the ash of everything they'd faced, with nowhere left to run to and no reason to make haste. He looked at her the way he'd learned somewhere along the road, not checking for the danger, just relieved to share the load. She looked at him the way she thought she'd never look again, like someone was worth staying for beyond the where and when. And somewhere in the silence that the battlefield had left, two people found a language made of nothing but the rest. The rest of all the running, the rest of all the walls, the rest of 3 long centuries of empty corridors. Every star we didn't count was shining all along. Every road we walked in silence had been building into song. I spent 300 years convinced the dark was all there was, and then you stood beside me just because. No prophecy, no destiny, no reason written down, just two people choosing each other on the frozen ground. Every star we didn't count is counting us tonight, and for the first time I am not afraid of light. The princess watched them from the tower as the sun came through, the way it always is with people who already knew. She'd seen it in the rain that night, the way they almost smiled. She'd seen it in the way they fought, protecting like a child. She turned away to give them what she'd always understood, that some things need no audience to bloom the way they should. And somewhere far below her in the ashlight of the dawn, two people made a silence that was better than a song. She said, I used to count the stars that went out every night. She said, I stopped looking up, I thought I lost the right. She said, tonight I didn't count. He said, I know I saw. And neither one said anything, but neither felt the floor. Every star we didn't count was waiting to be seen. Every wall we built between us held a door we'd never seen. You gave me back the thing I burned for when I burned alone. The ordinary miracle of not being on my own. No kingdom, no reward, no name written in gold, just the warmth of someone near you in the morning cold. Every star we didn't count is every star tonight in 300 years of darkness. Finally became the light. I want to tell you something I have never told anyone. In 300 years I am glad I woke up every terrible morning, every door that was closed, every fire, all of it, because it brought me to this one. I'm not good with words, but I stopped counting the graves. I started counting the mornings. That's because of you.